Welcome back to the NIT season tip-off as part of Feast Week presented by Lowe's. Game number 2 from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, as the second-ranked Kansas Jayhawks look to stay undefeated against Marquette. Kansas and Marquette winner. This one gets Tennessee Friday night. Volunteers finished up with a win earlier. Tom Hart alongside Brooklyn's own Fran Fraschilla. Fran, you had a courtside seat for one of the best shooting performances in Kansas history a week ago. LeGerald Vick hit 8 threes. He took 8 threes, and he is even hotter right now.
You know, in Bill Self's 16 years, I can't ever remember a guy doing what he did last week. It's amazing. Think about it, 65 points, tremendous shooting from the outside, and what a lift he's given this young team as a senior. It's been remarkable, and we'll see if he can keep it going tonight.
Kansas is going to need to put some points on the board because Marquette can score as well. First game out against Michigan State, LeGerald Vick, the lone senior, did not score, did not make a three, only had 2 points. And then against Vermont, that was a school record and made threes without a miss. Another career high by taking down the Raging Cajuns with 7 threes.
Let's see if he can keep it going. Certainly he'll be the focal point of Marquette. But there's only one guy in this building that scored 52 in a game last year, and that would be Marcus Howard, the outstanding junior guard who is already rocketing up the storied history of Marquette's scoring column. We'll see what Bill Self's defense has in store for him tonight.
A couple of great scores in the backcourt between Marquette and Kansas. Winner gets Tennessee. The loser will take on Louisville to start things on Friday afternoon. Marquette's 3-1, Kansas undefeated at 3-0. Bill Self took him back to the Final Four again last season, and they're coming off of a 13-point win at home against Louisiana. 14 consecutive regular season conference titles. That is the longest streak in NCAA history. It was their 15th Final Four last year behind a team that hit a school record in threes. Meanwhile, on the other side, Steve Wojciechowski has Marquette primed for another breakout season. They were in the top 25 to open the year, ranked for the first time in 5 years. Went on the road, lost a tough one against a hot shooting Indiana team. That's their lone loss of the season. They get 40% of their points from behind the arc. Fran, Marquette loves to shoot the long ball.
They love to shoot the long ball, but they're going to have to defend the paint because this ball will go inside to Doak Azubuike early and often. A load inside, maybe the best low post scorer in college hoops.
Udoka Azubuike will jump center against Theo John, and Marquette controls the tip. This is Marcus Howard, their great scorer, will also run the point. He averages 20 points a game. Both Hauser brothers getting the start today, Sam and the freshman Joey. Howard open for a 3 off the screen, and he knocks down his first attempt.
They put the big guard, Grimes, on him, but good ball screen action freed Howard. He's one of the most exciting shooters in college basketball.
Dedrick Lawson, the Memphis transfer, swings it. It ends up in Vick's hands. LeGerald Vick for 3. He stays red hot. He has made 16 of his last 21.
You see that smile? He said, I'm not going away.
He's been on a heat check for a week and a half now.
We saw it against Vermont.
Howard around the screen. This is a 2. And it's knocked out of bounds by Theo John. It'll be Kansas basketball. So Marcus Howard has hit a 3. LeGerald Vick has hit a 3. Stands to reason that LeGerald Vick has a better supporting cast around him.
He does. And he has somebody that he's going to be throwing the ball into tonight. Like right there, this fella.
Udoka Azubuike with a baseline spin. It's too easy for the big guy.
Hard to stop him. It's really hard for anybody in college basketball to stop him right now. His combination of size and the scheme with which Bill Self runs to get him the ball.
Skip pass, another touch to the corner. Back out to Joey Hauser for 3. And the freshman knocks down his first attempt tonight. He's averaging 15.5 over his last two. As Azubuike gets harassed in the post, tried to step through. Marquette wanted a walk. Another touch for the big guy. Looks like a grapefruit in his hands. The jump hook is short for the 7-footer.
I'll tell you, John did a good job right there. He held his ground and used that body weight to keep Doak from getting any closer.
Steve Wojciechowski shuffled up his rotation last time. Kane gets it to roll home. Jamal Kane getting the start for the second straight game.
He got it to roll home, but he almost had a poster right there. He showed no fear.
It was either going to be a poster or a meme. Meanwhile,
let's watch
Azubuike.
Yep.
Hauser commits his first.
See the official getting between John and Azubuike to say, look, play hard, but be smart. We don't want to have to foul both of you out.
8th meeting between these two programs in 2003. They met in the Final Four. Kansas ended Dwayne Wade's college career. Dedrick Lawson gets a shove from Joey Hauser. That's a second on Hauser, who will sometimes play the 5 and will be asked to guard Azubuike at some point tonight. That's not a good start for Marquette.
No, it's not, and that means they're going to have to go small. And let's see if Joey Hauser has fouled out of this first half or not. Question will be will Steve Wojciechowski bring him back with 2 at some point?
Joseph Chartouni is entered. Lawson gets fouled hard by Theo John. And once again, Dedrick Lawson, the transfer from Memphis, has picked up 2 fouls on the Marquette post players, which is something you would expect Azubuike to be proficient at. Dedrick Lawson has had an up and down start to his Kansas career. At a Hamilton High School in Memphis, Tennessee. Transferred from Memphis after the 16-17 season after playing for Tubby Smith. He's got 2 more younger brothers growing up in Memphis. And his younger brother KJ is right with him at Kansas.
Chandler just committed, I believe, to Oregon, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's a push off. Yep.
Fouls mounting early for Marquette. Jamal Kane with his first.
Take a look right here. Watch the right arm. Good defense by the freshman Dotson.
So here's Lawson. He senses an advantage. No whistle on that drive. Sam Hauser pushes it up to Chartouni. What is Howard's range?
NBA and beyond. He really can. He shoots. He's kind of like he's not Steph Curry, but he's not afraid to pull it from there.
Bill Self was talking about the tempo that Marcus Howard plays with. Refer to him as a clever scorer. A guy who can get you off balance and take advantage.
You know what? He's good at going to the basket with the floater game. He shoots the pull-up. I mentioned at the top he had 52 in a game last year in a win over Providence College. You know, he's only 19 years old. He's a junior. He won't turn 20 until March. He started his college career at Marquette and played the entire season as a 17-year-old. So he's a very young junior.
Preseason first team All-Big East. Here's Azubuike. Quentin Grimes goes baseline and he draws a foul.
Now, since the Vic 3, Tom, you can see that Kansas's strategy is we're going inside. It's not the strength of Marquette's defense.
6 fouls on Marquette. All of them belong to guys at 6'7" or taller. Quentin Grimes knocks down the first. He got to know Bill Self pretty early before he showed up on campus.
He really did. He played for the under-18 FIBA Americas champion. Wiped out Canada in the final, and he was one of their key cogs, certainly.
Yeah, he was the MVP of that this summer.
Played some point, played some 2.
Marquette shows its appreciation. The fans understand that's a first foul called on Kansas, and it goes on Azubuike. Six of the 8 from Marquette have come from behind the arc.
Pick and roll coming for Howard.
Ball lost, taken away by Kansas. And a physical finish by Dotson.
I have no idea how Dotson stayed on his feet, but that's tremendous agility, and it started with an excellent defensive play. Too much contact early in this game. The officials going to have to call some things.
In and out for Sam Hauser, and they call a push on Quentin Grimes. That's his first. Back and forth affair early. It's Kansas by 3.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Dollar General. Save time, save money every day. And Heineken. Enjoy Heineken responsibly.
Udoka Azubuike is a load inside. Last year, he said he led Division I with a 77% field goal clip, and he is an absolute weapon for this Kansas team.
Well, every shot he took last season, except for one, was close to the basket. There's the shooting chart. That's the shot chart from last year. And he's in a major slump right now, only shooting 68% from the field. So
he had 8 of 10 last time out. That's not bad.
8 of 10 is about what he averaged last year. Think about how absurd those numbers are. One of the greatest shooting performances in NCAA history.
Of his 8 field goals against Louisiana, 6 of them were dunks.
Incredible. And you know what? We've seen him use both his right and left hand. Good play by Lawson. That was a layup saved by the hustle of Lawson.
Mitch Lightfoot has checked into the game for Kansas. LaGerald Vick back out there, coming off of consecutive games where he set his own career high. Here's Vick on the handoff.
Nope.
Wow. Grimes had to go high to save that one. And a push on Kansas, and that will be on Dedrick Lawson.
Gerald Vick wanted to throw that skip pass, but he overshot Grimes, who barely got a piece of it.
Joseph Chartouni, graduate transfer from Fordham, turns it over.
Yeah, not a good decision right there. Howard was open early, but not late. Good steal. That's a second good defensive play by the freshman, Dotson.
Dotson gets it to roll home.
That's what you call playing downhill. A guy that goes that fast looks like he's playing going down a hill. And we saw Josh Jackson. They used to run plays like that for him. He turned the corner and was extremely explosive. Good start for the freshman Dotson.
He and Grimes in the backcourt combined to nail 9 threes in the opener against Michigan State. That was most for a freshman duo in school history. Howard turns it over. Kansas on an 8-0 run thanks to 4 turnovers for Marquette.
Watch him turn the corner right here. Great speed, right to the basket. I've always said, and I've watched this young man since his sophomore year, he really reminds me of Devontae Graham. He's a better athlete in terms of his speed. He's certainly not the skill player that Devontae developed into, but similar type of start to his career.
Talking with Bill Self today, one specific thing they're missing when they're missing Devontae Graham is leadership on this Kansas team. He said, I'm still waiting to see who's going to be the guy who steps up to be a leader when times are tough. Vick from deep, of course.
That's ridiculous. I mean, where did this guy come from? Did he, you know, he's been a really solid contributor his whole career, but to have this kind of shooting stretch.
Sam Hauser answers with his own triple. Last year is third in the country in three-point
That's
percentage.
normal for him. Would you believe that last year only 7% of Sam Hauser's field goals were at the rim?
Marcus Garrett on the floor for Kansas. Steve Wojciechowski says, get a hand up. You've got to. They don't. And Vic is 3 for 3. He has made 18 of his last 23 from deep.
He is loving it. He is smiling. I've never seen him smile this much.
Well, wouldn't you be? Here's Howard to answer.
That is not unusual for Marcus Howard. I know Bill Self does not want to leave him that wide open.
Steve Wojciechowski spent a lot of time working on man-to-man defense with his Marquette team at their practice yesterday. Dotson illegal screen, his first.
I mean, this is absurd now. We're talking about a guy, this has got to be as hot as any player has ever been for Bill Self at Kansas. They lose track of him. He doesn't even move. I mean, it's one guy that you got to put the all-points bulletin out on. It's him.
He's shooting 77% from three over his last 2+ games. Brendan Bailey, the freshman, really struggling with his shot. He is just 1 for 13 this season after making his first attempt of the year.
Well, you could see he forced that one. He wanted to get one up quick, and he was off balance.
Garrett, too strong. I asked you this during the Vermont game. If you're Kansas and you've got LeGerald Vick who cannot miss, how could you possibly go anywhere besides to Vick? Howard,
well,
his third three.
You don't want to force feed him when you have other guys that score in Doka Azubuike's case as easily inside as he does from the arc.
Sure.
So you want to be able to maintain that balance, but you don't want him jacking shots either.
Vick off the window.
Doesn't matter, does it?
No. I mean, I guess my point is if Udoka Azubuike was on the floor and you're going inside out, I totally understand.
Yeah. Well, what I love about Vick is it's coming within the flow of the game. I mean, he's not forcing anything.
Marquette turns it over. No whistle on the Howard drive. Vick laying in wait. Garrett will take it in, and he has it blocked, but it's a foul. Matt Helt with his first. You want scoring? You want hot shooting? Give thanks for these two guys on the floor here tonight at Barclays.
Oh, right on cue. Marcus Howard. That's within his range. That's his area code. And then with Gerald Vick, call the fire department. Where are you, NYFD? Get over here quick.
Including Villanova in action tomorrow at 1:30. Oklahoma State knocked off Kansas twice last year. It's the only time Bill Self has been swept by a conference opponent since he's been at KU.
Completely different team, very young team. Mike Boynton's got a good group to build with, but they're certainly not the team that went into Allen Fieldhouse last year and won. But how about Iowa State? They are playing without 4 key guys. I'd say 4 of their top 6. And they went to Maui, went 2-1. They drilled Missouri at home. And when they get everybody healthy by January 1, all of a sudden they become a threat at the top of that conference. Steve Prohm has done an amazing job. 2 freshmen you want to watch. Talon Horton-Tucker and Tyrese Halliburton. 2 guys that are going to be Cyclone stars in the future.
So they lost to Arizona to start Maui. Then they beat Illinois and blow out San Diego State by 30. Oklahoma, big win today. They held off Florida 65-60.
You know, those young kids that are at Oklahoma, they have a lot of veterans back. The talk was that Trae Young didn't have enough talent around him last year, and those kids are playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Did you say that?
Oh, no, I believe that. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They have talent. I mean, they've got 3 guys that played in the Final Four with Buddy Hield and that crew. They just need solid point guard play.
Hauser drains a triple. The lead is down to 2.
You have 2 of the best 3-point shooting teams from a year ago. And while a lot of us thought they would miss Kansas, Graham and Nikai Luke and Newman, Gerald Vick has picked up the slack.
School record for threes last year for Kansas. Meanwhile, Marquette is 6 of 10 from 3. They're 1 of 4 from 2. As Azubuike gets shoved by Theo John, it's the second on John. It's interesting that Kansas, under Bill Self, who's able to manipulate what he wants to do on the offensive end, they can play wildly different styles with Azubuike either on the floor or off.
Yeah, well, necessity is the mother of invention. They have always been a power basketball team at Kansas, playing through the paint. The last 2 years, obviously, because of the talent of those perimeter guys, the great shooting, Bill Self has told me many times it was the most fun he's ever coached. And when we talked before the season, I said, are you going to get away from the three-point shooting and the spread offense 4 out? And he said, nope. Now we can play through the big fella, and we can certainly play small ball as well. So it's great to have those options.
What a difference. First in the nation in field goal percentage, 863rd in free throw percentage last season. Corner three, Annam. It's his first make, and Marquette takes the lead. Azubuike, and he walked with it. Been a frustrating start for Udoka Azubuike. He only has 1 bucket, and he's only played 6 of the first 10 minutes. The hot shooting LeGerald Vick returns.
We haven't seen much double team either from Marquette. That time Matt held his ground, much like Theo John has done tonight.
Touch for Held. Here's Howard. Little leaner. And Quentin Grimes rips it down. Grimes hoists a 3. Azubuike helps him out by getting the offensive board, and they can reset. Illegal screen. Azubuike's second personal. And he will take a seat. David McCormick will replace him.
He's got to know better. He's played enough basketball. Watch the left hip. Steps out there. And that's going to be called this year quite a bit.
Yeah, an emphasis not just on sticking the hip out, but if your feet are wider than shoulder width apart, that is now an illegal screen.
Absolutely.
More attention to it by the referees.
Yep. Oh, good.
Hauser open, deep. Missed opportunity for Marquette. Here's Dotson. Dedrick Lawson spins into the paint, into traffic, and Marquette comes up with it.
Yeah, he tried to throw his body into the defenders, but the referees would not bite. It's good, solid vertical defensive play.
Howard, step back, splash. So on a night where #1 Duke went down, will #2 Kansas fall as well? They trail Marquette by 3 thanks to an 8-0 Marquette run. This is the guy that gets it going for Marquette, and Howard's got 11 early. So Kansas with its hands full against the Golden Eagles of Marquette. It's a 3-point lead for Steve Wojciechowski's team. Don't be surprised if he's drawn up another 3. That's where they've been getting it done. 7 of 12 from deep. Just 2 of 6 inside the arc for Marquette.
You see Marcus Howard right there. As a high school freshman, he committed to Arizona State and Herb Sendek. Coaching change, the assistant coach Stan Johnson jumped on board with Wojo at Marquette. He followed Stan Johnson, and he showed up, as I mentioned before, as a 17-year-old. You see Stan Johnson standing up there. Here's the interesting thing about Marcus Howard. His dad, Chuck, was a football player at Indiana. He is a workout guru. He now works at Grand Canyon University, and this kid has been around basketball his whole life. He is a gym rat. His brother Jordan last year averaged 25 points a game at Central Arkansas, and what a start to his career at Marquette. You think of all the great players.
Here he is, off the mark. Kansas got a high percentage look from David McCormick last time down. Denial inside. It'll stay this direction with Kansas.
You know, and in the 6 degrees of separation category, Chuck Howard played for our own Lee Corso at Indiana.
How about that?
Isn't that amazing? Graduated in '86. Played for 3 coaches, Sam Weish and Bill Mowery as well. It's a family of basketball and conditioning junkies.
Back in the early 80s in Bloomington, Diedrich Lawson, no. Ball ends up in the hands of Sam Hauser. Hauser guarded by Lawson. No Howard on the floor. Where do their points come from? Wow, what a rebound by Kane. And then it gets rolled up on, and Dotson commits his second. 1-point lead here for Marquette, leading number 2, Kansas. Plenty of basketball today. Let's get you to the studio. Here's Adnan. You want shooters? Marquette has shooters. Sam Hauser and Marcus Howard.
Big part of their offense. Almost half of their field goal attempts come from behind the arc, and certainly these 2 guys can shoot it from deep. We've seen Marcus Howard get into the paint, as does Sam Hauser. And on the offensive end for Marquette a year ago, it was not a problem. Steve Wojciechowski told us today it's the defensive end that they have to really clean up if they're going to make a run at a wide open Big East right now.
Chartouni with the dish. Here's a 2 from Sam Hauser. And the product out of Stevens Point, Wisconsin, now has 8.
Well, he's not Steve Novak, who's arguably one of the greatest shooters I've ever seen in college basketball, but he certainly has that kind of game.
Lawson got deep. And a whistle goes against Marquette. So Matt Held, senior, his second, and Diedrich Lawson goes to the free throw line. Diedrich Lawson inconsistent to the start of this season. Bill Self looking for more consistency for him. He's had some productive games from scoring standpoint, but it's taken him a lot of shots to get there.
Absolutely. Has not been efficient. Big fella inside. Doak has been efficient. Certainly Vic has as well.
Preseason All-American, Big 12 preseason newcomer of the year after transferring from Memphis and sitting out last season. Here's Jamal Kane. Kansas much more aggressive with their half-court defense with Marcus Garrett on the floor. Now 2 go down, and they leave Hauser open. And he knocks it down.
That looked like Steve Novak if you're a Golden Eagle fan.
Marquette up by 4.
Excellent defense by Marquette in this first half. Steve Wojo is going to be pleased.
Lawson left it short, but got it back. Quentin Grimes. Sam Hauser the board. It'll stay with Marquette. How about Sam Hauser taking advantage of the 2 Kansas players colliding?
Yep, you'll see it right there. You see they both fall down, and that's not something that's going to make Bill Self happy. That's a walk in the park for Sam Hauser.
Looked like Vic turned his ankle when he fell into Quentin Grimes. Hauser 3 of 6 from deep. Marquette's hit 8 threes already tonight. And Marcus Howard back on the floor. Wojo's been able to give Howard a breather here. And they've held on to their lead. Kane. Got it.
Good basketball right there. Chartouni thought he was going to pull up and shoot the 3. Swung it back. Little misdirection. Nice drive by Kane.
Vic's been quiet lately. Here's Marcus Garrett into the paint. Lawson was held by Ed Morrow. That's his second. Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlantis is ongoing. Paradise Island in the Bahamas. Oklahoma beat Florida. Wisconsin beat Stanford with 1 3 and 2 assists. Right now, Dayton and Butler on ESPN News, and 4th-ranked Virginia takes on Middle Tennessee when we are finished here.
Well, it's a lot of basketball left this Thanksgiving weekend, but there's going to be some interesting decisions made by the pollsters at the top next week, with Duke going down, Kansas, Virginia, Gonzaga, maybe Tennessee, who knows. Be interesting to see who climbs to #1 next Monday. Not that it matters.
Well, we're talking
still in November.
Yeah, we're talking to Bill Self about that last week after they had just been bumped to #2 without a loss.
Yeah,
and he just kind of shrugged his shoulders like, who cares?
Who cares? I agree. No doubt about it.
But you've spent a lot of time on the air. I mean, you've done like 75 games in the last 6 days. So
seems like it.
It's just a talking point for you.
Yeah, it's fun, but it doesn't mean anything.
Straight ahead 3. Kane didn't have his feet underneath him, and Joey Hauser couldn't handle it. I think Gonzaga is going to get a lot of consideration for that #1 ranking based on how they were able to build a lead against Duke tonight in Maui and hold them off.
I agree. By the way, Joey Hauser is back. Still out there? Trying to see, got a referee. Yeah, he's still out on the court with the 2 fouls. Now, I mentioned this a couple times so far this year. Ken Pom has a new analytic, 2 foul participation in the first half. And Steve Wojciechowski, in the past, has been very liberal about playing some guys with 2 fouls. He's not adverse to it. And right now, you see Joey Hauser out there with 2.
It would make sense based on Wojo's lineage. His college coach, Mike Krzyzewski, is the same way.
Not afraid to do it, because what happens is a young guy like that who picks up 2 early fouls, you basically have fouled him out of the first half if you don't put him back in. And he's got to be smart now. He's going to have to learn to play with 2 fouls, but you also want to keep him fresh and active in the game. This kid is tough, man.
Howard has 13.
This is no surprise to anybody who's watched Big East basketball. This kid is a tremendous scorer, and he's doing it against a really good team right now.
It was interesting hearing Mike Krzyzewski talk about 2 foul participation last year as you look at what Marcus Howard can do.
And that's against a good defender in Marcus Garrett.
And what Coach K said is that he knows that some of the guys that he coaches against are adamant about taking a guy out in the first half with 2 fouls. So if their star picks up 1, Duke is going to go right after that star to get the second and hold that theory against that coach.
It's smart, and I think what it has to be is it has to be a case-by-case basis.
Can't be a hard and fast rule.
Exactly.
Vic, teardrop won't go. A rare miss for LaGerald Vic, but Mitch Lightfoot's on the glass. They leave Garrett open to stay on Vic, and it pays off. Marquette leads by a half dozen. Howard, corner. Foul tip by Brendan Bailey. That's how you get the freshman going.
Absolutely. Second field goal of the season after a mini shooting slump to start his career.
Kansas has made just one of its last 8 after starting this, one of the last 10 after starting this game 7 for 10.
The game plan is excellent. They are closing off the lane, and with Azubuike on the bench, they don't have an inside scorer right now.
A travel by the freshman guard, Quentin Grimes. Marquette leads by 8. They're doing it from behind the arc and by getting on the glass.
Oh, yeah, hustle. Take a look. If you're going to beat a team that's as good as Kansas, you got to make some shots, and you got to play hard.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. Hurry in today for huge Black Friday savings.
It's a great question, because Marquette's defense, Fran, was something that held them back last season, and so far tonight it's been magnificent.
Yeah, we saw this last week in the Garden with Iowa. Similar situation, talking to Fran McCaffrey and today with Wojo. Hey, we know we were bad defensively, so we really tried to shore it up during the summer and the fall, and you can see it's certainly paying off. And how about this shooting? That's 9 threes now, 9 for 18. I think they've, honestly, I think they've landed they've knocked Kansas down in a proverbial prize fight. KU's now got to get off the deck. And remember, Doak's got 2, so he's not out there.
LaGerald Vic smothered. Lawson has to chase it down. And he banks it in.
Well, and he's fortunate, too, because that could have been a charge right there. I think the official thought that Hauser flopped a little bit, but good touch by Lawson. And Bailey's done a good job. He's good, got great length on Vic, the freshman.
It's funny you would mention a prize fight. I was walking through the back hallway today here at Barclays, and I saw a photo from Ortiz versus Collazo in 2014. Ortiz went down with a second-round knockout. He's a Garden City, Kansas native. He had a Jayhawk on his trunks that night. There's an answer by Kansas.
Absolutely. And this would be an ideal time for Dedrick Lawson to get it going a little bit. You notice that Joey Hauser's out, so he played with the two. John's got two, both sitting right now.
Oh, what a look by Howard! Helt's got a bucket on the no-look pass from Marcus Howard.
Well, it's not Thanksgiving yet, but right now Marquette is carving up this Kansas defense. It's a surprise. It's a surprise. Watch this right here, a little indecision. Lawson doesn't get back, and that's as easy as you could make it look.
Did you get any of the media room turkey?
I did.
Today?
Sure did. Yep. Little mashed potatoes.
Cranberry sauce.
Yep. Pumpkin ravioli.
I passed.
You
I passed on that. Hard pass. Here's Marcus Garrett at the free throw line. Oldest of 6 kids. A lot of turkey going around the table in the Garrett household back in Dallas. Sakar Annam returns, and for a moment, Sam Hauser's going to take a seat with 1:37 to go. Won't see him until the second half, likely.
I like it. You know what? Steve Wojo's done a nice job of manipulating some of the foul trouble with John and Joey Hauser, and he wants to just get through this half right now and maintain this lead.
Joey picked up his second early, and Sam has 2 as well. Lead is 10 for MMU. Howard off the screen, working on Vic. Got it rejected by Marcus Garrett. It turns into a 3, and Grimes chases it down.
Kansas will get at least 2 more possessions to cut into this lead.
Bill Self was wondering about leadership. He was wondering about toughness for this Kansas team. See if they can get back up off the canvas after trailing for most of this half. Garrett on the underside of the rim.
Garrett should have reversed that ball to Vic.
And then Marquette turns it over.
And the Fordham transfer senior, fifth-year guy, got his degree. He knows he made a mistake. He bobbled that ball, wasn't sure.
Under a minute to go. Chartouni, nearly 1,000-point score at Fordham.
Let's see if Bill Self goes 2 for 1 here. He did tell his point guard, take your time. The shot's got to be up around right about now.
Here's Lawson. Beautiful feed from who Bill Self calls the best passer he's ever had, and a timeout taken by Marquette. Kansas trying to fight back into this one without the services of Udoka Azubuike. So they're getting points in the paint from the unlikeliness of players.
And that's just bad defense right there. You see Adam helped up, never help up, and he exposed the baseline, but a find by Dedrick Lawson, really well done.
Azubuike has played 6 minutes, 2 personal fouls. So you might want to check KenPom and see where Bill Self falls along those stats.
It's a good point. I've already checked. Last year, he was, because of the short bench, he was very liberal playing guys with 2 fouls in the first half. This year, he's 242nd in the country in what we call two foul participation. So let me explain it to the fans at home. If you have a 10% 2 foul participation, it means, let's just say Doak picks up a second with 10 minutes to go in the half. On average, he'll only play 1 more minute the rest of the half, hence 10%. Some coaches, like last year, Boeheim was 58%, would play guys with 2 fouls a lot. Why? Because the zone would hide them. So Bill's been conservative this year with that.
The difference is evident simply by looking at the scoreboard. Since Azubuike picked up his second, Marquette has outscored Kansas 21-14. It was really good math on your end. Howard finds Hauser for three. Got it! And Marquette has opened up an 11-point advantage. Garrett into the paint. And it rolls home for Kansas. Marquette ends the first half by making 11 out of 21 threes. Go figure. In the Duke upset by Gonzaga, the Blue Devils hit a bucket to end the first half. Kansas hits a bucket to end this first half. Do they have enough for a comeback in the second? Or will we see number one and number two go down within hours of each other on the same day? Marquette with the lead over second-ranked Kansas. Let's get you to the studio. Adnan, Seth, and Jay. Welcome back to Barclays Preseason NIT, part of Feast Week, brought to you by Lowe's. What a night for basketball here in New York, and Marquette trying to take down number two Kansas. 47-38 is the lead at the half. Could we see number one and number two go down the same night? Tom Hart alongside Fran Fraschilla. If Marquette pulls this off, it'll likely be because of their outside shooting. Yeah, you don't see a Bill Self defense shredded like they were in the first half. Can't wait to see the adjustments. But for Marquette, you know, some of these shots are contested, some weren't. And but one thing you know Marquette does is they shoot the three ball. Almost 50% of their field goal attempts are behind the arc. And Kansas breakdowns, too easy. Supposed to switch that, they don't. Freshman mistake. But watch, this is great execution. Azubuike has to show on a great shooter. So that means he's got to get back to his man. Marcus Garrett is going to guard the roller, but watch the back action from Hauser coming out of the corner, and that's too late. Good defense, great offensive execution. That's back action. Really well done. Azubuike only played 6 minutes in the first half since he left the game with 9.5 to go in the half. Marquette went on a 24-16 run. Meanwhile, LaGerald Vick, red hot early, 11 points in the first 9 minutes, nothing the rest of the half. Rejected by Theo John, who sat with a couple fouls, and Dedrick Lawson has been the most consistent offensive performer for KU tonight, gets a bucket. This would be a good night for him to start to step out of the shadows of Azubuike. Last time Kansas allowed 47 points in the first half was also the last time Kansas trailed at the half. That was in the Final Four in their loss to Villanova. LaGerald Vick reaches in and commits his first personal. You mentioned Marquette getting the shots from deep. They average, Fran, 9 threes a game. They already have 11 tonight. So we'll see Wojciechowski's team cool off, and if they do, can they win this game? Yeah, and I'm going to look for defensive adjustments by Bill Self. It might mean having to go small at times so they can guard the perimeter. They were small in the first half with Azubuike sitting for 14 minutes. Comes all the way out to Hedge. Might as well throw it inside, see if you can get a third foul on the big guy. Shot clock winding down. Hauser, guarded by Azubuike, pulls over the 7-footer. And Vick lets it kick out of bounds for Kansas. Good possession, but you've got guys on both teams with 2 fouls now. So why not go at Azubuike? Why not go at Theo John and see if you can get a third foul? Kansas faithful to their feet here in Brooklyn, trying to will their team to a bucket. Lawson, Azubuike, high percentage. You made the point about how good a passer Lawson is. You rarely see a 4-man in pick and roll, but that's a Bill Self specialty right there. Little wrinkle. Kane driving on Vick, and he walked with it. Well, Lawson is a good 6'8", 6'9". Usually the ball screen is for him, but there, watch it right here. He screens, 2 go to him. Nobody gets Azubuike on the backside. Well done. So think about all the great guards that Bill Self has coached. And of all of those guys, he has said Dedrick Lawson is the best passer he's ever had. Bill Self's in the Hall of Fame, so I'd have to agree with him. Dotson finds Lawson. And Joey Hauser brings it down. That's his third. Theo John with the illegal screen. Once again, Your feet are wider than shoulder width apart. This season, they're going to get you.
Part of that is the problem. See, that's Marcus Howard's fault as much as Theo John's, because he's got to wait for the big man to be set. Now, Howard is a good player and he wants to get downhill, but he's got to make sure his big fella is set. Remember, Joey Hauser's got 2, so I'd go at him.
Joey Hauser, number 22, is guarding Lawson right now. A blow-by for a bucket by Devon Dotson. 6-0 run by Kansas to open the half. Timeout, Steve Wojciechowski and Marquette. Jayhawks have come out of the locker room on fire.
We saw this blow-by in the first half, Tom. Watch the freshman. Puts his head down, no resistance, to the rim. Back in it.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. Hurry in today for huge Black Friday savings.
Alongside Brooklyn's own Fran Fraschilla, Tom Hart here at the Barclays Center. Nice to be back, huh?
Park Slope, yeah, it's been great. Great couple days here in Brooklyn. I grew up about 4 miles from here down in Flatbush by Sheepshead Bay. There's been plenty of cannolis, Italian heroes. It's been fun.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, man, no, you just got to town. You missed it. Could have came out to the Fraschilla house out on the island.
See, only now I get the invitation. With like 7 seconds on the shot clock. Marcus Howard, pull up. What a difference Udoka Azubuike makes when he's on the floor for Kansas.
He does, and I wish I could have heard the halftime talk by Bill Self as well. And I always say the first 3 minutes of the second half is so critical. Think about this. Marquette really opened this game up at the end of the half, and because they weren't ready to play and Kansas was, we now have a ball game.
Azubuike commits his 3rd. Okay, now what do you do?
Bill Self's going to leave him in. And it means that, let's see if you can get something going to the rim and make him defend.
He's out on Ed Morrow, who lays down the screen. Chartouni gives it up. Here's Kane with the shot clock winding down again. Kane tried to draw the foul from Lawson. Well, Gerald Vick was red hot to start this game. 11 points in the first 9 minutes. He hasn't scored since. Dotson turns the corner. Down the lane, and it's blocked by Morrow. Off of Kansas, it'll be Marquette basketball. It went off the face of Udoka Azubuike.
It's been a very quiet start to Ed Morrow's Marquette career after transferring from Nebraska. But you see, because he goes vertical, yeah, there's some contact, but good job of extending that left hand.
Ed Morrow's a great player for Tim Miles at Nebraska. Led the team in rebounds and blocks as a sophomore. Redshirted last year after he transferred to Marquette. Here's Chartouni. And now Howard, their scorer, for 3. And then a foul on the rebound on Morrow. That's his 3rd. Theo John, their other center, has 3. The Hauser brothers each have 2.
Good time to go inside to Doak right now. Get him a touch, see if you can get him going. Something sneaky.
Ed Morrow played high school basketball with the young Zach Norvell of Gonzaga. They knocked off number 1. Can Marquette knock off number 2 tonight? Vick, challenge, fadeaway 2. Out of bounds off Marquette. It's a 3-point game in the second half in Brooklyn. Tennessee assistant Rob Lanier on the left, Michael Schwartz on the right. They are scouting this Kansas team, and Marquette for that matter. They take on the winner of this one. Talking with Rob Lanier between games, he said there's one reason I don't like live scouting, which you're allowed to do. during in-season tournaments. He goes, there is no rewind button from courtside.
Yeah, well, in the old days, we all live scouted until about the mid-'90s, and then the NCAA thought there was too much cost. There you go. That's where the ball has to go. He's 3 for 4 tonight, and his plus-minus is through the roof.
Winner gets number 5 Tennessee in the championship Friday night. Marquette's lead has dwindled to 1. Howard took a bump and no whistle. It ends up with Dedrick Lawson.
Nobody better at a timeout baskets than Bill Self.
Garrett, no. Follow Lawson, and Kansas is in front. First lead for KU since it was 22-20.
Message sent.
And a Marquette turnover.
Coming out of the timeout, Bill Self knows where the bread is buttered. There's a little pick and roll. Same play as before, the 4-5 pick and roll. They're 2 for 2 on that in the second half. You see the screen. Lawson, that depth passing you've talked about, and then that is hard to stop.
Led the nation in field goal percentage last year. Meanwhile, Ed Morrow just picked up his 4th personal foul on that illegal screen. It's a 12-0 Kansas run.
Going inside right here if they can. Watch the backboard. Good defense by Held.
LaGerald Vick off balance. And Joey Hauser finds it.
Matt Held did a great job. He smelled that play out.
Vick in the passing lane knocks it away.
Lob.
Lawson, lob, Vick. It won't go.
Big Doak needs a blow, but he's gone hard.
His conditioning is vastly improved from last season. Improved his body type, improved his conditioning. But he sat for 14 minutes in the first half. Vick to Azubuike. Nowhere to go, but he draws the foul on Matt Held. It's his 3rd on Held. At the half, Marquette led 47-38. Since then, they've been outscored 10-0. There's Azubuike. 0 for 2 from the free throw line. When he's on the floor, Kansas is +7. When he's off, -6.
That's going to be an issue all year, much like it was last year, the trade-off. Impossible to guard at the rim, but not efficient at the line.
Howard, challenge 2. Marquette's lost its mojo on the offensive end. Dotson with a burst. Off the glass.
Great spin move.
Hauser tees one up. The struggles continue for Marquette. Golden Eagles are 0 for 7 in the second half. 3-ball for Marcus Garrett. And number 2, Kansas is up by 6.
You know, Doak is winded. Lightfoot's ready to come in, but he's gone hard the last 4 times up the floor. Couldn't do that as a freshman or sophomore.
It's a 17-0 run for Kansas.
Well, you know what this is, Bob. Tommy, I'm sorry. Watch
Whoever.
this. Hey, it's proper hand development, PhD. Look at the spin move. Terrific move. And then watch the collapse. It's good recognition by Doak. I usually work with my favorite partner, Bob Wischusen, but sorry about that.
Don't worry about it, John Sunvolt. You're great. Sakar Annam with the ball in his hands. They finally get Azubuike a breather, and Mitch Lightfoot enters the game for Kansas. And then LaGerald Vick with his second. What a difference since the break. Marquette didn't get their orange slices. They are 0 for 7 since the half.
You're up 9 at the half. That was always an important time for me as a coach, because you'd say to your guys, When we get to the 16-minute mark, we want to have a 9-point lead or more. It's how you warm up. It's how you start the half. It's going to the basket. It's getting loose balls. It's not setting illegal screens. Kansas much more ready to play.
Another Marquette turnover. They continue to flail on the offensive end, and it leads to a foul. Chartouni's first.
This young man played at Fordham with Eric Pascal, recruited by Tommy Pecora, now associate head coach up at Quinnipiac. Pascal with the national title a year ago.
Lawson over Hauser. As poorly as Marquette has played offensively in the second half, they're only down 6.
2 threes away, right?
That's their bread and butter.
Not getting it as easy as they did in the first half.
They got the 6'8" Lightfoot on Howard. Nothing doing for Kane. 0 for 8 in the second half is Marquette. Here's Lightfoot. And a chance for a three-point play.
Well, that was all Dotson. You want to talk about speed? Take a look at Devon Dotson, the freshman. Turning up the afterburners to the rim and the dump off. And Gilbert, Arizona's finest with the finish. Mitch Lightfoot.
Starting tomorrow, the Advocare Invitational. Villanova will get things started at 1:30 on ESPN2. Oklahoma State and Memphis to follow. Will Wade's LSU team is top 20, and then Florida State and UAB to close it out at 9 o'clock.
Florida State, the best team in that field down there. Leonard Hamilton's got a boatload of guys back from a great NCAA run a year ago. And Terrence Mann, the 4th-year senior out of the Providence area, Rhode Island. One of the best underrated players in college hoops.
Quickly, what do you think the over-under is when Florida State and Duke meet for the first time?
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
That's going to be 120 to 110.
Oh, yeah, and I'll tell you what, you talk about the over-under on how many great athletes will be on the floor that night.
Marquette has yet to make a shot in the second half, and they've turned it over 4 times. They are now 0 for 9 from the field.
Another contested shot. Good defense. They have really ratcheted it up.
Dedrick Lawson with a full head of steam. The lead is now 11. Marquette is ice cold in the second half. Joey Hauser to Chartouni.
Chartouni's got to shoot that ball.
Nobody on Marquette's playing with confidence right now. LaGerald Vick is, and he rolls it home. Timeout, Marquette trailing quickly by 13 now. Kansas has outscored Marquette 22-0 in the second half.
What a catalyst Devon Dotson has been. His speed and his vision. Watch this. Why he gets shot out of a cannon, and watch, get it ahead, take advantage of Vic's athleticism. And as much as we could talk about anybody to start this second half, the freshman Dotson has exploded this Kansas offense.
Let's get to know Devon Dotson, the freshman from Charlotte.
Who am I? I'm a freshman guard at Kansas, and here's some things you may not know about me. I love to play ping pong. I was born in Chicago, and my favorite food is crab legs. Who am I? I'm Devon Dotson.
It's from Providence Day School in Charlotte. So is Tennessee star Grant Williams, who had 24 in the Volunteers' win against Louisville. These former high school teammates looking more likely like they're going to go head-to-head Friday night.
That would be fun.
That's unless Marquette can come back in this game and get a win. And if they do, it would be the first time the number 1 and number 2 have gone down in the same day so early in the season as Sam Hauser knocks down the 3. AP poll's been in existence since 1948-49, with Duke losing earlier tonight. We've never had 1 and 2 go down this early.
You know, if Duke would have won tonight, they would have been the first team in AP poll history to beat 3 top 10 teams this early in the season. Didn't happen.
Zaga held on to knock him off for the Maui title. Hauser left open. Joey Hauser. His brother Sam just hit one, and the Spash brothers, pardon me, not Splash, but Spash at a Stevens Point area senior high school. Garrett into the paint. Lawson, a freight train again.
Too easy. Marcus Howard stuck his hand out instead of getting his chest in front of the driver. No resistance.
Bailey off the mark.
Marquette passing up some open looks. Bailey had an open 3 that I think he should have shot. He dribbled himself into a contested 2.
Marquette, great defense, numbers, beautiful bounce, but Bailey couldn't handle it. Lawson created some space. He's got 21.
Really good move. That step back move creates the separation you need. And then you throw the 6'9" length out there, and that's a pretty good looking shot for Dedrick Lawson.
Marcus Howard. Nice rotation. First bucket of the second half for Hauser. Pardon me, for Howard. Dotson breaking down Hauser, and he'll go to the line. It's a third on Joey Hauser. 7th team foul on Marquette. Kansas will be at the line the rest of the way.
Dotson, one of 3 All-American, McDonald's All-American freshmen on this roster to go along with McCormick and Grimes. And watching a lot of high school basketball the last couple of years, Tommy, the only guy that I had rated ahead of him would have been Darius Garland, who's off to a great start at Vanderbilt. You got Trey Jones in there, obviously, but this kid has got electric speed, which we've seen on display tonight.
Garland at a Brentwood Academy in Nashville. I feel like that's one of those private schools you missed in game number 1.
I did. I got almost all of them in, right?
Yeah, you covered it. Dotson into double figures. The lead's 10 for Kansas. Charlie Moore, Cal transfer enters. Dotson will take a seat. So Bill Self able to use his depth. He just replaced 4 of the players on the floor. Annam turns the corner, can't knock it down. Charlie Moore will push. Here's LeGerald Vick. And Kansas gets pressured into a turnover. Steve Wojciechowski loves it. That's the kind of defense he used to play. Bill Self squad up by 10. The Hauser brothers have combined for 26 here tonight for Marquette. They're from Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And like any brothers, they both have the same favorite spot on the floor. That's Sam hitting a 3 moments ago, and then younger brother Joey following up.
How many practice threes do you think these guys have made in their career to become the kind of shooters they have become?
Sister Nikki in the middle of the 2. Family from Wisconsin. Sam's preseason second team all conference. Stevens Point Area Senior High School. It's known as SPASH. So instead of the Splash Brothers, they are the SPASH Brothers. You with me?
Yep, I got you. And Joey won 3 state titles freshman, sophomore, junior year. He got hurt early in his senior year. Only played one game, so he decided to enroll at Marquette for the spring semester, so he's been around a little longer than your typical freshman. The one game he played, he had 39.
Yeah, one going to play again for his high school because of the injury, so why not come get all of Marquette's fantastic medical help and redshirt. LeGerald Vick, backdoor cut.
Hey, it's automatic. Bill Self, I mean, he's so good out of those timeouts, it's amazing.
Chartouni almost left his feet. And then a Marquette turnover, another one here in the second half. What has been the biggest difference for Marquette's offense in the second half?
Contested shots. Kansas has taken away a lot of those open threes that we talked about when Marquette made 11 in the first half. They've tightened it up. And minus those 2 threes by the Hauser brothers, it's been a very good defensive effort.
Lightfoot dumps it in. Here's Big Doak. Off the mark. You don't usually see him miss like that. Howard got challenged after Moore got a hand on it. 6.5 to go. 12-point Kansas lead.
How about this, Tommy? Marquette has 9 points this half. 9.
They had 47 in the first half, which was a season high allowed by Kansas.
I told you that Kansas ratcheted up the defense.
Yeah, you were right.
And what you've seen in the second half as well from Kansas is something Bill Self didn't have a lot of last year, and that is depth.
Bill Self will hustle to get a sub in. Udoka just picked up his 4th, and so Dedrick Lawson replaces him.
Remember, no Silvio De Souza, who's being held out right now. David McCormick has seen a little bit of action, but it hadn't mattered.
McCormick played a couple minutes in the first half. Howard missed the layup. It's been that kind of half for Marquette. It'll be with Marquette here, but Joey Hauser went down hard and had a body land on him when he tried to chase down that loose ball.
Yeah, good hustle here, too. Take a look at Quentin Grimes. That's a McDonald's All-American getting on the floor. And he'll get one of those floor burns that goes into the Kansas basketball statistics. Both he and Charlie Moore, 3 guys going after that ball.
Like Joey Hauser took the worst of it.
All these teams who are here in Brooklyn will practice tomorrow or celebrate Thanksgiving with their teams and some of their families who are here. The finals will be Friday night. You and I will be disappearing, and Jay Billis and Dan Schulman will be getting on that red eye tonight.
We get to go to warmer weather.
Yes,
we're going to miss out on great basketball, but our toes will defrost. It's supposed to be the coldest Thanksgiving since 1910.
And I lost my down jacket here in the arena last night.
Oh, you must be down about that.
I'm down.
Grimes with the shove. That's his 2nd.
But it was free.
What?
It's an Under Armour jacket. I'll get another one.
Plug.
I'll get another one.
Thanks for sharing, by the way.
But I am going to be cold in the morning.
You will be.
And when I get to from my door of the hotel to the Uber.
The lead is 12. And if Kansas is able to hold on to this thing as Grimes commits his 3rd, what kind of matchup do you foresee between Kansas and Tennessee?
Well, it's what Bill Self told you, right? He wanted to challenge his team, and Tennessee will challenge Kansas because they are a tough, experienced, physical team. That's an Elite 8 Final Four type of game. That's what it is if these two teams meet.
Howard blocked from behind by Marcus Garrett. It is off of the Jayhawks, and Marquette gets another chance at it.
You made this point earlier, but the crazy thing is, even now, Marquette has only 4 threes from being back in this game.
And they hit 11 threes in the first half.
Exactly. So 12 points, 6 minutes to go. Certainly the execution hasn't been as good.
Beautiful baseline out of bounds. And Joey Hauser sneaks in for the bucket.
That was excellent execution.
Steve Wojciechowski crouched down in front of the Marquette bench, trying to get his guys to pick up the defensive intensity. It was the focus of their practice at the Nets practice facility yesterday. LeGerald Vick, no. so he can miss from 3.
Although that was in and out.
Yep. Howard, challenge 3.
Something to think about. Does Udoka Azubuike come back, given how poor a foul shooter he is?
I don't know, but we can check in warmer weather as well with updated bracket in Atlanta. Dayton knocked off Butler. The Flyers will take on the winner of Middle Tennessee and Virginia.
Good win for the A-10 over the Big East. Big East, wow. Rebuilding year, a lot of good young players, but certainly not the kind of season they had a year ago. It's a cycle down. Be back up soon.
Shot clock winding down. Lawson finds it and gets it to go.
Great effort. When the spring Dedrick Lawson transferred, before he did, he went to the NBA Combine, and he played really well, but not enough to be guaranteed a first-round berth. So he transferred here to Kansas, and many times last year, Tom, Bill Self said our best player in practice is Dedrick Lawson, and off to a slow start by his standards in terms of his field goal percentage and efficiency, but it's going to come a point in time where he and Udoka are going to be a handful.
And to answer your question, Bill Self said after the Michigan State game where Udoka missed a couple of free throws late, he was on the floor, he made a couple, he missed a couple. He said, listen, we're not going to worry about that. I want to have my best players on the floor towards the end of the game. We've seen the difference he makes outside of the free throw shooting.
He's going to worry about it. He really is, because it is the problem it was a year ago. And, you know, you can figure out how to get him in, get him out, platoon him, but there are going to be teams in close games when it gets under 10. They will foul him on purpose.
Fran, this is Marquette's first free throw attempt of the game.
And the guy that usually makes them came up empty there.
Meanwhile, Kansas has been to the line 19 times. Okay, folks are going to see that and say, well, the officiating must be terribly one-sided. Do you feel that way?
No, they've shot all jump shots. How many times have they got the ball into the deep paint with a post touch? Not many.
Lawson. Wow.
Sweet. Yep. Yep, that was well done. Over the left shoulder, right hand jump hook. Seen a nice package tonight of shot variation.
Dedrick Lawson has a Kansas career high with 24. Career high at Memphis was 35. Did that against Iowa a couple years ago.
There's that small lineup we talked about. Bill Self still enjoying playing with the 4 guards.
Lawson tries to spin baseline. And he stepped on the inline. We've got a timeout on the floor. Number 2 Kansas trying to go to 4-0, leading Marquette 73-59. Our producer Joe McCoy is going to be on one of those as soon as this game ends. Go back to Connecticut for Thanksgiving, then wheel around and be back here Friday for the final 2 games with Shulman and Billis. Marquette only 12 points in the second half. Kansas has nearly already matched its first half output thanks to the play of Dedrick Lawson.
And on a night where Azubuike has not been the dominant performer that he's been throughout the season, it comes in handy, because this is a great 1-2 punch inside when Bill Self does want to play big.
Boy, that game that we had last week at Allen Fieldhouse, it was like he was in a morgue. Dedrick Lawson was, for all intents and purposes, a non-factor.
Well, he didn't score, but it really, really didn't matter because of the dominance of Gerald Vick that night.
Beautiful dump down to Theo John. Kansas lead is 12. You've mentioned this. They've got to be careful of Marquette's outside shooting.
Well, I think Steve Wojciechowski is going to like a lot of things about this game, obviously, particularly the first half of it. But the second half got away from him. I saw improved defense in the first half. Not
Another
so much
assist for Lawson.
Yeah, not so much in the second half. They've moved into an incredible new arena, the Fiserv Forum, where they'll share that home with the Bucks. And Steve was telling us it's just incredible, state of the art. Most of the good seats are down on the lower level. A lot of optimism in Milwaukee. Great basketball town.
Hey, you mentioned the fact that the Big East is going to be down as John has a chance for a three-point play. Can Marquette compete for the Big East title?
This year they can, because at this point in time, there is no team other than what we saw from St. John's, and they had their moments where they struggled this week, but they're undefeated. I think St. John's has the most talent in the league on one roster. Shamari Pons is outstanding, maybe the best player in the league right now. But when you add it all up, I think that really from top to bottom, it's going to be wide open.
Theo John has 5 points, all of them in the second half. Marquette forces Kansas to use a timeout with a trap in the backcourt.
But the reason I mentioned the Fiserv Forum is because there are going to be nights in the Big East that this team will shoot lights out and blow some teams out. They have that much firepower. They showed you in 20 minutes their capability. And obviously Kansas, after getting staggered, knocked down in a proverbial prize fight, got back up, and the champ is still standing as we head to the 15th round.
So how hard will it be for Marquette to find that stroke again? 11 threes in the first half and so quiet and cold here in the second.
Well, I don't think this is a great defensive team by Kansas. We saw that in the second half. They score baskets in the Big East, and they will do that this year. And particularly at home, they're going to be a really hard team to beat.
They're 1 of 5 last year to hit 40% of their threes and 75% of their free throws. But they allowed 78.5 points per game on average.
Yeah, that was the focal point of preseason practice, and at times they've been much better defensively, but not enough to stop this Kansas onslaught in the second half.
Marquette picking them up full court, and Kansas gets it across, and now they'll pull it out. Under 2 to go. Howard has it blocked by John. Here comes Marquette. Down 11. Howard into the paint, and we get a foul on the drive. And that'll be on Grimes, his 4th. Catch SportsCenter later tonight on ESPN. After Thunder Warriors with Bucci and Anderson, they'll have reaction from LeBron after his return to the land. And Zion Williamson's top plays from the Maui Classic. Plus, Andrew Luck's amazing comeback season. It's SportsCenter after college football on ESPN and the ESPN app.
You know what the motto in New York City is, right, for Knicks fans? We're not trying for Zion.
I love it.
Yep. I said yesterday, I think this kid's going to make $1 billion.
$1 billion?
$1 billion, yeah.
$1 billion?
Yeah, and not NBA salary. If he's as good a player as I think he's going to become, the kid has got an incredible smile and personality. His Q rating is already off the charts.
He's the size of an offensive lineman.
Absolutely.
He could be his own Times Square billboard.
And while there's still some flaws in his game, he's as dominant an athlete in college that I can remember since Shaq.
Sam Hauser commits his 3rd. We were talking last week when we were in Lawrence. With his body type, is there a comp to the great Wayman Tisdale?
He's more explosive to the ceiling than Wayman. Wayman, as a freshman, was about as good a player, if not better. Wayman, the National Freshman Player of the Year, is voted on by the U.S. basketball writers. It's called a Wayman Tisdale Award for a reason. I would say that he's in the range of where Wayman was, and Wayman was a great college player. Yes,
it's an amazing compliment.
Yep, absolutely. And I didn't see the game tonight. I'll watch the tape sometime over the weekend, but not surprised that a veteran Zags team knocked off a very talented but precocious group of freshmen.
I think those who don't follow college basketball closely saw Duke start to the season, and they said, well, that's a team that could go 40-0, will run away with the ACC. The ACC is loaded, whether it's North Carolina or Virginia or others. It's not like they're going to go through conference play undefeated.
No, now, they're not going to play any tough non-conference road games because they don't.
They don't play any non-conference.
Exactly.
They are home until January 8th.
Exactly. They're going to play Texas Tech in essentially a home game at the Garden on December 20th, and that's it. But you're exactly right. This league at the ACC is too deep. It's too good, and right now, you don't go through Durham, you go through Charlottesville.
Rebounded by LeGerald Vick. Got time to start the Rock Chalk chant for the KU folks who have traveled here to Brooklyn. And two dear friends who know each other very well, Rick Barnes and Bill Self, will go head-to-head Friday night for the title.
They sure will. They've competed many times in the Big 12. Rick Barnes went to 16 NCAA tournaments at Texas in 17 years. They had some great battles. Kevin Durant's freshman year when he was... Danny Manning told me the greatest performance ever in Allen Fieldhouse was the first half that Kevin Durant played against Kansas. And he got, I think he tweaked his ankle in the second half. I think he had 25 at the half. And Danny, if that comes from Danny Manning, who knows his way around that building, that says a lot. But some great battles through the years between Rick Barnes and Bill Self.
And I can almost hear Rick Barnes right now when he talks to folks, or maybe he's already said this, that he's going to be so happy that this game is on a neutral floor instead of Allen Fieldhouse because he can recount every whistle that went against his Texas teams every time they went into that building.
What are you implying?
I'm not.
What are you implying?
I'm just retelling the story. I'm teeing him up so he can tell the story again.
I would say that Bill Self had success in Austin and at the Big 12 tournament as well. Kevin Durant's freshman year, Texas got off to a huge lead, and Kansas came storming back in one of the great Big 12 finals of all time.
So the Jayhawks doing it with defense in the second half. They've held Marquette to just 19 points this half on 6 of 25 shooting. How much of that was Marquette going cold, and how much of that was Kansas's effort?
It was more Kansas's effort to contain the three-point shot because Marquette showed us no ability to score consistently in the lane. Thus, no free throws. Final 2 minutes of a game. When there is a discrepancy about who knocks the ball out of bounds, officials can go to the monitor, and they are determining that the ball, in fact, was off Marcus Garrett, so they overturned it. And Marquette has a chance to cut into this lead and get it into single figures. Hey, I just want to say, first of all, happy Thanksgiving to you, Tommy, and to Joe McCoy and everybody in our truck who's working hard. Travel safe, and Maddie Wilson doing the directing tonight. All of our great camera guys. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
Did you wish Bob Wischusen a happy Thanksgiving?
I did.
Okay, good.
I did. Bobby's going to be with the family, and the Jets, I think, are home against the Patriots. I'll see Bob at Boston College on Monday night when they take on Minnesota.
Here's John with the ball fake. You know, we're halfway through Feast Week, and it has been an amazing Feast Week already.
Absolutely. So many good teams around the country.
Stepped on the...
It looked like he did, didn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. We don't need another review tonight.
No, we do not. No, we do not. With all due respect to Marquette.
Well, 5 teams we knew were really good have Duke, certainly Kansas, Gonzaga, Tennessee. Who am I leaving out? Somebody pretty good in that mix.
I had 4.
I got Tennessee as my 5th team. It's certainly not Kentucky right now. But we've seen some really excellent basketball early. Virginia.
How could you forget Virginia?
I know it. I know it. Because they're not in a... Well, they're going to play. They're going to tip off in a few minutes.
16 for LeGerald Vick. Kansas allowed 47 points in the first half. They locked it down in the second half. Theo John with 7 points. There's a great turnout of Tennessee fans in game one tonight. Of course, the Jayhawks travel well. There should be an electric atmosphere here at the Barclays Center Friday night. So Kansas will go to 4-0 on the season. Marquette had a tremendous first half, but the Jayhawks put together a 22-0 run to open the second half. Bill Self's team stays undefeated. They're now 4-0. Marquette will get Louisville Friday. Kansas draws Tennessee.
Should be a great early season matchup. Easily an Elite Eight, Final Four type of matchup. Both teams will benefit from a game like that later in the year. Look at that. Number 5 and number 2.
A fantastic matchup between two of the top 5 teams in college basketball. Maybe that one will be as good as Gonzaga Duke was tonight in Maui. Jayhawks now 5-0. Marquette Louisville. That'll be a very interesting matchup.
You don't want to leave a holiday tournament 0-2. It spoils the weekend. Turkey and stuffing not quite as tasty if you leave here with 2 losses.
So from chilly New York, let's get you to the Bahamas. Our final, Kansas 77, Marquette 68. Coming up next on ESPN2, Middle Tennessee State against Virginia. Now let's get you to Paradise Island, Bahamas. Alongside Jimmy Dykes, here's Richard Cross.